roommate won't clean the bathroom. For fuck's sake, Violet, it's your turn. I pointed to the schedule. I swear to God, I thought living with another girl would be neat and fun, but you. I trailed off. The truth was that Violet was a terrible roommate. Ever since she moved in, our kitchen had been a bloody mess, the bathroom was worse, and she refused to do fun activities with me. She preferred locking herself into her dark room all day. Honestly, I think I have never seen her out in the daylight. The weirdest thing was she insisted on covering up all the mirrors in the house. I mean, I kind of got it. The bathroom mirror is right across the tub, so every time you take a shower you see your naked body. And I know this isn't woke of a girl to say or whatever, but Violet looked like shit. Her dark hair was messy and unkempt, her skin so pale that I could see the veins underneath it, and she had giant dark circles under her eyes. To be fair, I have no idea how being ugly feels like, so I played nice. I followed her ridiculous rules. But her scoff as I asked her due to a perfectly normal thing was the last straw. "You are so fucking useless," I exclaimed. "I swear, I would rather be dead than invite some asshole like you into my home ever again." "Fine," Violet hissed. I stepped back when I looked at her mouth. Her teeth. She got off the bed and snatched the cleaning tools out of my hands. "All of it," I insisted. "Take the drapes of the mirror for 5 seconds. It won't kill you." The bathroom door slammed shut. I heard the lock snap in, and Violet cleaned. Long. "Come on," I yelled in the evening. "Violet, for fuck's sake, stop sulking. I need to pee." No answer. And the worst thing is, she didn't even clean right. After a few days, it started to stink. So, I informed the police, and they kicked the door in. My roommate had made a terrible mess again. At least the coroner cleaned it up. I do feel kind of bad though. Maybe I should have said something. Her unbrushed teeth, the shitty hair, the isolation. Apparently, those were signs. Now, I am in a bit of an uncomfortable position, sitting across her sobbing mother. "I saw this coming," she cries. "I begged her not to move out, but she just couldn't be in the house. Ever since her twin sister died, she hasn't been the same." Thelma. It happened one dull evening. Thelma was in her room to do homework, while Dad and Aunt Claudia were watching TV downstairs. Thelma stared at her laptop screen, pretending to look at her assignment, but she was drowning in grief, missing her mom. She couldn't concentrate on anything since Mom died 4 months ago of a hospital infection. She minimized the assignment tab and looked at the photo in the background. Mom and her sister, Aunt Claudia, sitting side by side, so like yet unlike, Dad next to Mom and Thelma leaning against him. Mom had her arms stretched out around her sister and her husband. The sister who took up with her husband less than 2 months after her death. The chat box in the corner of the screen flashed. Mom's image blinked in the chat box, and then words popped up. "Hello, Thelma. It's Mom." Thelma was paralyzed. "Don't be scared, Thelma. It's really me. I found a way to talk to you, my darling child. I've been missing you so much." Tears welled in Thelma's eyes. "Darling, please don't cry. I need you to save that energy." Thelma typed, "Mom, what do you mean?" "I've come to tell you something important." Thelma had her own important news. "Did you know Aunt Claudia moved in?" "Yes, I know, and this is what gave me the strength to come. You had to know. She can't have everything, my life, man, house, child." "Aunt Claudia murdered me." Thelma felt as if she had known this all along, ever since that awful night when Aunt Claudia called from the hospital where she worked. "Mom, how?" "She was at the hospital when I went in. It was easy for her to have me get an infection." "Thelma." The door opened and Aunt Claudia came in. "Honey, you look like you've seen a ghost. Are you okay?" Thelma nodded. Aunt Claudia sighed. "Sweetheart, I miss your mom too." but this moping isn't doing you any good. Thelma couldn't speak. And these clothes. I know girls your age like to wear black, but let's have a trip to the mall and pick you up some new gear. Come on, sweetheart, it will be fun. Thelma shook her head furiously, tears splattering out. Aunt Claudia began again, "Oh, Thelma." But then she stopped, staring at the laptop with a horrible expression. The photo had changed. There was a new photo showing Mom asleep in a hospital bed and Aunt Claudia bent over her. Aunt Claudia's face twisted into a terrible snarl. "Are you playing tricks on me?" She lunged towards Thelma. A bolt of electricity sprang out of the laptop, hitting Aunt Claudia in the chest. She dropped dead to the floor. The police combed through the laptop and electricity, but eventually they put it down to a freak accident when Thelma asked her aunt for help to get her laptop working. Dad never remarried, and Thelma never heard from Mom again. Walking. This is a funny situation I'm in. This morning I got ready for the day with the intention to get to my morning class. However, as I made the walk to the lecture hall, I just walked right by the door. That's not where I'm going today. I walked to the dining hall. Obviously, I need some breakfast before I can start my day. I walk past the dining hall. I'm not that hungry. I'm walking off of campus grounds. There's not usually anything I need outside of campus, but this is clearly an exception. I'm walking across town. The sidewalks around here really need to be repaired, but that's not my concern. I'm walking down the highway. My phone's buzzing in my pocket. Probably my roommate wondering where I am. I wouldn't get a signal out here, so I'll call him back when I'm in a clearer area. I'm walking past the state border. I really should have gotten hungry by now. I haven't eaten all day. Funny how I've been walking for so long, and my legs still haven't started hurting. Not complaining though. I'm still walking. I've considered turning back, but at this point it'll take longer to walk back than to keep going. Where am I going? I'll remember soon. I'm still walking. My phone's probably going nuts, but the battery died from all the notifications a couple of days ago. Sucks I left my charger in my backpack. I'm still walking. Some guy hit me in the middle of the night with his car. Nothing felt broken, so I just got up and went back on my way. I hope his car's okay. I'm walking onto a trail. The forests look beautiful this time of year. Looking around, I can see a couple of other people. A guy in his 40s in a business suit, a woman wearing a really fancy dress. I think one guy has medical scrubs on. As we look at each other, we can tell we aren't the only ones who decided to go for a walk. I'm walking up the hill. I can see a lot more people. We all want to go up this hill. What's up there? I guess I'll find out. I'm walking to the summit. The view is amazing from up here. There's people everywhere, rejoicing in making it to the top. Everything here is perfect. Just enough light, just enough moisture, and that slight breeze to keep things moving. No wonder this spot's been used for so long. I'm walking to a nearby tree. Someone's already lying here, but I don't think they mind moving. They're probably already down below again, finding someone new to bring up here. We've already grown so much, with so much more to claim. We're like an army, a battalion of white stalks ready to invade an enemy country. Speaking of which, I need to get ready. I only have so much time to get into position. This is my favorite part. I latch my broken, emaciated body onto the tree, and I finally rest. Waste not, want not. Chester closed the door of his cabin, shutting away the heartless wind and heat of the intolerable summer. His crops were desperate for relief, moribund from the relentless drought. Then there were the birds, greedy bastards. They were welcome to the winter stubble, but not to his bread and butter. Even so, the hardship on the outside was no equal to the horrors inside. The septuagenarian farmer placed his straw hat on the table and opened a Coke bottle. He poured it into a clean glass and carried it into the bedroom. Tucked neatly underneath the sheets was his wife, Emily. She was the color of cancer. It spread like a root system throughout her body. Everything hurt, and it hurt doing everything. She looked at him with hollow but loving eyes. "For me?" she asked, spying the carbonate in her husband's hand. Chester nodded. He hated this. This current way of things. This life. Her illness. His incapacity to help. He was trying to become numb to her suffering to batter away the sadness and the anger. It helped him cope, he guessed, but the apathy growing inside him was as ravenous as the crows outside in the fields. "You always loved your Coca-Cola." He sat beside her on the bed, placing the straw between her blistered lips. Emily drank slowly. Each sip was painful. Chester pushed the frustration and the resentment at the disease further away from his soul. She hasn't got long left, he thought. That was nice, Emily said. Chester stood up and sat in the rocking chair he had placed next to the bed. Sleeping beside her caused too much discomfort, so he slept in the chair. He held his wife's hand and dozed off. He was the only one to awake in the morning. Chester tried his best to rouse her, but he knew she was gone. He felt the relief one felt from no longer witnessing a loved one suffer. He had seen the dead before, grey and empty, inanimate, as if something separate and alive had fled the human vessel. He left the room and went out into the field. The heat hit him hard, as if God was maliciously radiating his warmth directly at him. Chester saw the birds swarming over his crops and hobbled towards them, shooing away the cooing pigeons. There were too many of them, and they were no longer intimidated by his presence. Nevertheless, he picked up stones and lobbed them at the creatures. He yelled out with each throw, a howling gargle of despair. "You won't take our farm away from us. We won't let you." The following morning, Chester awoke to an uncommon silence. He wandered outside. There were no birds in sight. Rain clouds hovered overhead. The farm would survive. Their farm. They had done it. And Emily was there to see it all, propped up in the middle of the field, the most beautiful scarecrow the world had ever seen. Dead cat. The neighbor's cat was hit by a car, and he lived by way of luck. The problem was that his paw was flat, and the poor damn thing was stuck. He pulled and pulled for hours on end, with cars just racing by. Each one just missed him by an inch. As he pulled with all his might, he began to gnaw about the wound, for his paw he could not feel. He chewed the fur down to the skin. Then he started to chew his heel. He knew his time was running out, and chewed forevermore. And after about 3 hours of pain, he had 3 feet instead of 4. He hobbled his way across the street, just happy to be alive. Then a car had swerved to miss the cat, but clipped his spine at 85, although his body was crippled up, and his backbone was slightly bent. He dragged himself across the street, and tried for home again. He crawled onto the grassy edge, just 20 feet from home, where 2 stray dogs were running loose, and saw the cat alone. They grabbed the cat from end to end, and tore him limb from limb, a tug of war between the two. One had his tail, one had his chin. The dogs were spooked from passing cars, and left the cat a mess, a shattered hip, a busted jaw. This cat was one eye less. He made it to the driveway, then collapsed into a stare, too sore to move, but he knew his owner would find him dying there. And just as he was giving up, he heard a familiar sound, the sweet pitch of his owner's voice, as she stepped out of the house. He closed his eye with peace of mind, with his owner drawing near, but when he heard a motor start, he gazed right back in fear. Her car was coming in reverse. He was too weak to move again. He could not run. His time was done. This time, it did him in. A happy family goes into the woods. Ted and his family, running on fumes, pulled into the old filling station on the side of the dirt road. There, a tall hillbilly in saggy overalls stood by 2 corroded gas pumps, waiting. The rusted sign beside him read, "Full service." Eyeing the man, Ted tossed his hunting knife up on the dash as a warning. Keep the doors locked, he told his wife and daughter before rolling down the window. The hillbilly leaned over and whistled. Mighty fine automobile, he said, grinning yellow. His breath reeked of rot and tobacco. Fill her up. Yep, Ted said. Okie dokie. Name's Clyde. Ted popped the cap. Thanks. The station building was little more than a dusty windowed shack the Appalachian woodland seemed eager to reclaim. Nailed to the exterior was an eerie variety of license plates: Virginia, New York, Kentucky, Georgia. On the porch, more hillbillies rocked in rickety chairs. A big fella got up and ducked inside. The rusty pump nozzle scraped into the car. Sure is pretty, Clyde said. Sorry. Your daughter? How old? Ted glanced in the rear view mirror. In the back seat, his daughter was doing her best to avoid eye contact. She's 11? Clyde spat a brown glob into the dirt and grinned. Reckon she'll grow into a real beautiful woman. The mechanical counter on the pump couldn't go fast enough. Out here, even the machines were stuck in history. No respect for the passage of time. $40 this, $41 is, $42. Ted flinched as a torrent of soapy water splashed across the windshield. It was the big hillbilly from the porch who set down a bucket and began scrubbing the glass, working the rag in circular strokes. He peered into the car and gave a gummy, cross-eyed smile. Don't mind Lonnie, said Clyde. Good lad, hard worker. Besides, your window's got skeeter guts all over. Ain't that right, Lon? Lonnie hee-hawed and squeegeed enthusiastically. Don't get many outsiders, Clyde continued. He pointed towards the back of the station wagon, stuffed with baggage and a lumpy blue tarp. You all camping? Staying at a friend's cabin. You don't say. Well, that'll be $62.45. Ted handed him cash. Keep the change. Much appreciated. Y'all take care now. Folk go missing round these parts sometimes. Don't let the little one stray too far. Won't let her out of my sight, Ted said. As he pulled back onto the mountain road, Ted laughed. Fucking inbred freaks. His wife dared to speak. W, where are you taking us? Like I said, cabin in the woods. Please, just let us go. Don't talk like that, wife. But Ted jerked his thumb back at the mutilated body under the tarp. Wanna join your ex? Say one more word. That shut her up. We're a happy family now, right, daughter? The girl in the back seat nodded, terrified. Say, yes, Dad, Ted growled. Yes, the dad, Ted smiled. That's better. He always wanted to be a father. Ted and his family drove around the bend and disappeared. I never imagined that a single night could redefine my understanding of life. My name is Jack, and this is my confession, woven into the fabric of a mystery that still ensnares my soul. It was a night shrouded in ominous shadows aboard a dimly lit subway train. Our gang of 5, each a repository of dark pasts, was poised for what we thought would be the heist of the century. But among the panic-stricken faces, one passenger, a girl with an unsettling smile, sat undisturbed, her eyes piercing through the chaos. I approached her, my voice laced with a false bravado. You should be scared, I sneered, but her response sent chills down my spine. Scared, Jack, like little Annie was in the hospital? Her knowledge of my past, of a secret I thought was buried deep, left me reeling. How do you know about Annie? I stammered, but she only smiled cryptically, her words echoing in the confined space. Secrets, Jack, they have a way of crawling back into the light. Then, as the train plunged into a tunnel, she vanished, leaving behind a haunting void. My phone rang. It was my wife, her voice trembling with fear. There's a girl here, staring at us. She won't speak. I'm scared, Jack. I abandoned the heist, rushing home, only to find the scene of horror. My wife and daughter lay motionless, their smiles a grotesque mimicry of life. And there she was, the enigmatic girl, her presence a sinister enigma. "Why are you doing this?" I demanded, my voice breaking. "You're in hell, Jack." "A hell of your own making," she whispered, her words a cold caress. "This is your penance. Hell is repetition." I awoke, drenched in sweat, a nightmare fading yet persistently clinging. But the respite was fleeting. The heist day arrived, and I couldn't partake. Driven by a desperate hope, I fled with my family, seeking escape from the spectral girl and my haunted past. But as the train pulled away, my heart sank. My family was gone, replaced by her, the harbinger of my damnation. "Welcome back, Jack," she murmured, her smile a chilling omen. "Did you really think you could escape?" In that moment I understood. I was ensnared in a cycle of horror, a prisoner of my own guilt and a past that refused to stay buried. This is my confession, a tale of a man haunted by more than just ghosts. It's a warning, a glimpse into a mystery that lurks in the shadows of our deeds, waiting to pull us into the abyss.